if we were a Christmas gift, what do you want the most for Christmas? Don't speak it out loud, just think it in your mind and heart. What do you want the most for Christmas? Wes, let me grab the floor lights too if I get while I preach from down here. I'm going to read the account of the wise men. It's in Matthew's Gospel. It's only in Matthew's Gospel. And, well, let's just stand and read the account. You've heard it, no doubt, many times in your life. Now, after Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of Herod the king, behold, wise men from the east came to Jerusalem, saying, "Where is he who has been born King of the Jews? For we have seen his star in the east and come to worship him." When Herod the king heard this, he was troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. And when he had gathered all the chief priests and scribes of the people together, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. So they said to him, "In Bethlehem of Judea. For it is written by the prophet, 'But you, Bethlehem, in the land of Judah, are not the least among the rulers of Judah. For out of you shall come a ruler who will shepherd my people Israel.' Then Herod, when he had secretly called the wise men, determined from them what time the star appeared. And he sent them to Bethlehem and said, 'Go and search carefully for the young child. And when you have found him, bring back word to me, that I may come and worship him also.' When they heard the king, they departed. And behold, the star which they had seen in the east went before them, till it came and stood over where the young child was. When they saw the star, they rejoiced with exceedingly great joy. And when they had come into the house, they saw the young child with Mary his mother, and fell down and worshipped him. And then they opened their treasures. They presented gifts to him of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Then, being divinely warned in a dream that they should not return to Herod, they departed for their own country another way." This is the word of God for the people of God. Thanks be to God. You may be seated. So if anybody asks you, why do we give gifts at Christmas? Well, the wise men gave gifts at Christmas. They gave gifts to Jesus. God the Father gave a gift at Christmas, gave his Son to us. Giving gifts is a lot of fun, a great blessing. Sometimes funny, usually very significant and meaningful. Karen's even got a new gift game to play this afternoon. We'll have some of our family Christmas, and we'll see how that game goes. If you get to keep your gift or if someone wants it from you, we'll see. Jesus got to keep all three gifts, the frankincense, the myrrh, the gold. And why would these magi, why would these kings bring gifts? Why would they come into the capital of Israel, to Jerusalem? Why would they come before Herod, who was not even purely a Jewish king, looking for the king of the Jews? Wouldn't that be insightful, not visually, but just inciting the current king to know that another king has been born? Wouldn't it be dangerous to the newborn king? Could it be dangerous to the magi? Sure. If you read about Herod, you're not going to read much that's good. He was not a good king, not a good man. He was not. And so some of these things that appear in Matthew's account of the wise men, some of the quotes from Herod are lies. Herod was a liar. Oh, let me know where he is so I can come and worship him. Lie. Why didn't the chief priests and the Pharisees all go with the wise men to Bethlehem? If the star had appeared and if the newborn king was there and if the prophecies all lined up that this is about the time he should come. so many generations after the rebuilding of the wall or rebuilding of the temple, the Messiah will come and he'll be born in Bethlehem according to Micah 5:2. They all knew that. Why didn't they go? Don't know. Just as well they didn't go. The Magi came and they got to greet Jesus themselves with Mary, with Joseph, the privacy of their temporary home there in Bethlehem. They got to worship uninhibited, undisturbed, could give their gifts to him freely. And afterwards they're warned not to return to Herod. Why? We know why. Herod didn't like rivals. Herod was very jealous, and he would have sought to harm the child. The Magi were sent home another way. There's two major routes to the east. They went the other way, and then Joseph was warned by an angel to take the child and his mother and go to Egypt tonight. So everybody got out of Bethlehem, but trouble still came. So the gifts. Let's talk about the gifts for a minute. Gold, the first gift named gold. I don't know about you, but if someone laid a whole bunch of gold in front of me, my eyes would pop out of my head. I'm sure Mary had never seen that much gold, and Joseph is like, it would take me 3 lifetimes to earn that much gold. They're like, wow. But that was a way to honor a king. Gold communicated. It communicated kingship. And that's part of our first talk about gold. Kings like to receive gold. If you wanted the king's favor, one thing you could bring was gold. And the gold was valuable, so it communicated from the wise men to the people watching that this baby, this infant, this toddler is valuable. Way more than we know. Way more gold than we could ever have. Valuable. Now, to science people, gold is number 79 on the periodic table. Symbols AU, which comes from the Latin for what gold was called in Latin. In science, it's just another metal. It's just another element. But in the world, it's one of the most valuable metals. Anyone know what an ounce of gold costs today? Feel free to put an ounce of gold in the offering box. That would boost the offering. An ounce of gold, 27 grams or so, is worth $1,500. So if the wise men are laying down pounds of gold, Mary's not worried about the money anymore. And Joseph's like, we're all set. The Father has provided for his Son. That's all in there. I don't have time to develop it. But it's in there. Gold. You know, it's very interesting that God brought the lowest of the low men in Judea. The shepherds. I like shepherding, I like farming, but in that day, if you were a shepherd, you weren't real high on the social ladder. The shepherds came in from the field, and you know if you hadn't had a shower for 3 or 4 weeks and you're living with sheep, what do you smell like? You smell like a sheep. So, but God called them that very night to come and worship, to know where his Son was. And then God called the wealthy Magi from the east to come and worship his Son. In other words, God calls everybody to come and worship his Son. Everyone. The second gift the wise men brought was frankincense. And the more I learn about this, the more interesting it becomes. Frankincense it's the sap from a certain family of trees there in the Middle East. The sap dries or crystallizes, and then the crystals can be ground into a powder, and it becomes an ingredient for incense. Incense, particularly frankincense, was burned in the worship of gods in Babylonia, in Egypt, but also in the Jerusalem temple. If we look at Exodus 30, verse 34, God spoke to Moses and he said, take sweet spices, stacked onycha, galbanum, and pure frankincense, and mix these in equal parts to make a holy incense. It will be holy for you. Let no one make it for his own pleasure, lest they be cut off from their people. This mixture is a holy incense to the Lord. Now, Luke chapter 1 talks about Zechariah burning incense in the temple. Do you know what he was burning in the temple? This. The same mixture of those four things, the holy incense. Nothing had changed in 1,400 years from Moses to John the Baptist or to Jesus. Frankincense was valuable, costly. Another costly gift brought. And what the frankincense communicates when the wise men opened up the frankincense and people could smell it, it has a sweet smell, it indicates this is a priest. This child is a priest who will offer things to God. Little did we know, or little Mary or Joseph know at that point, nor the wise men, that he would not offer just incense. He would offer his life. Jesus would become the high priest, not offering the blood of lambs or bulls, but offering his own blood. The book of Hebrews tells us all about this, how he is the sacrifice and he is the priest, one time for all, the sacrifice once for all. And so being not only a priest, but being a king, and not only being a king, but being the Son of God, he's venerable. Venerable means you can worship him. You can fall down and worship him. Now, on the lighter side, our grandchildren are learning the Christmas story, and last year you saw the little figures, that Karen bought little figures that have a Christmas story. The little Gabriel and the little Mary and the little Joseph, the little wise man, the little shepherd, and so forth, and the little baby Jesus, and it tells the story. Well, one of my grandchildren wanted to wear the story. Nani, make me a costume. Granddaddy will make me a costume. So Nani made one of my grandchildren a costume. Has a blue outfit, tunic, and a white headdress. And of course, one of my grandchildren is so involving, wants me to be Joseph. And thankfully, Betty Brown, once upon a time, made me a brown tunic and a muslin sash that a shepherd would wear. So I become Joseph, and we play Mary and Joseph. However, we didn't have a baby doll. So Rachel got me Rudolph and Clarice when the store had them. I got little Rudolph and little Clarice. I love them. They sit on my windowsill, help me keep watch guard. But without a baby doll, one of my grandchildren went and got Clarice to be the baby, wrapped up Clarice. Clarice can be our baby. Okay, Clarice. Look, Clarice is born, and Clarice everything. And then she's learning the story because children take in everything. She says, we got to go here, and now we got to kneel down. We've got to worship Clarice. And I said, wait a minute. I don't mind playing with Clarice as the baby, but we're not going to worship Clarice. The only child we could ever worship is Jesus. So if you want to call the reindeer Jesus, I'll worship with you. But if you don't, we'll play, but I'm not worshiping. So she thought. Come, let's worship this baby Jesus. She got it. And so we kneel down before Jesus. He's venerable. Thirdly, the myrrh. Myrrh is an oil derived from similar trees as the frankincense, a costly oil. But myrrh has a more heavy context to it. Its smell isn't as sweet as frankincense. Its context of myrrh, it's a burial spice, used at burial. The Egyptians used it in some preservation things, but it's also used because it has a better smell than some smells at the time of death and sickness. No doubt Jesus was anointed with myrrh at his burial. And so the myrrh was brought, and myrrh communicates, again, worth, but it tells us that Jesus was a prophet. Unfortunately, the Jewish leaders would often put to death the prophets. Isaiah was put to death. Jeremiah put to death. Because they didn't want to hear what the prophet said from God. Nor did they want to hear what Jesus said from the Father. And so we view Jesus also as a prophet. A king, a priest, a prophet. And the myrrh brings that out. And Jesus, as a prophet, he became vulnerable. Really, as a baby boy, he became vulnerable. And there's a part of myrrh and the symbolism of myrrh that not only tells us that Jesus is a prophet, but myrrh was used for healing. Hippocrates, the Greek doctor in that day who wrote a great deal about medicine, wrote about myrrh the most. It had healing properties. So when the wise men bent down and opened up their gift of myrrh, they're also telling us this child will have healing gifts. And he still does. To the vulnerable, the sick, the grieving, the confused, the broken, there's healing in Jesus Christ when we're vulnerable. So the Magi showed us that Jesus is valuable, he's venerable, he was vulnerable. So if you were a Christmas gift, what would you give? What would you be? Let me get a little lighter for a moment, because it's a joyful day. I was curious as to some of the gifts being given and purchased these days. I've lost touch with children's gifts, although I'll be getting back in touch with children's gifts. What are people buying? What are children wanting? What are adults wanting? And so I got to thinking, one of my daughters every year for 4 years in a row got a new cell phone. That was just her thing. She had to have the newest cell phone. And so I looked that up, cell phone. Let's look up, don't put any pictures up yet, Michael. Right now, the most popular cell phone, the iPhone 11 and the Google Pixel 4 are the big ones now. But over all time, which is not that long, cell phones started really in the 90s, maybe the 80s. But what's the number one selling cell phone of all time? You sit there and think about it. What company made it? What's the number one selling phone? And did you ever have one of these by this company? Let me give you the second most popular phone of all time is the iPhone 6. The iPhone 6, there are 220 million iPhone 6s or 6 Pluses. An amazing number of phones, but not number one. Number one, this will surprise you, it surprised me. Number one is the Nokia 1100. Mike Mantooth has that phone. That's 250 million of these phones. It calls and it texts and it has a flashlight. That's it. A snake game. Okay, it did say that. You're right. You're right. So a cell phone's a popular gift. But Mike, I'm glad you said that, because I'd like to segue into the next gift that's very popular these days. Michael, would you go to the blue microphone picture? The karaoke microphone is blue. Mike, I've got one of these coming for you, okay? This is very popular now, and I'd like Mike and Hunter to coach. Would you show the pink microphone now? The pink ladies are going to be back. Okay, the pink ladies from the play, we want them to come back. And you know, they are no stranger to a microphone. You give them a microphone, it's like giving them superpowers. They come to life, they dance, they jump, they love it. And so I hope at a coming coffee house or a coming time that the Mantooth Jackson work with the pink ladies, they'll have a comedy routine. All right, they already had enough comedy in the play, but they'll be joined by more. So these karaoke mics are popular these days. Pink and blue, you can get them in those different colors. And another popular gift, of course, I looked to the yellow and black website that has all kinds of things that can be here in 2 days. And so what's popular on that website? And there was a book called the Bucket List Book. It's very popular. 1,000 adventures, big and small. You may have a bucket list. There's some good ideas probably in that book of small things to do, big things to do, trips to take, events to go to. A bucket list book. Let's apply these gifts. If I were a Christmas gift, I would offer, and I'm going to bring it together now with the gold and the microphones. Here it comes together. The first thing, the gold gift If we were going to offer something, the gold gift goes along with the cell phone is personal attention. If your cell phone got a text right now, would you be tempted to look at it? Sure you would. I would. My phone's not even on me, just as well. If you get a phone call, don't you run to answer it? We spend time on our phones, whether they're cell phones or wired phones or landlines or front porches or wise men talking on a long journey from Babylon. Personal attention. Will Schwab says the greatest gift you can give anyone is your undivided attention. Susan Sontag said, pay attention. It's all about paying attention. Attention is vitality. It connects you with others. If I were a Christmas gift, I would give someone the gift of attention. Secondly, the frankincense gift. What could that be? And what could those microphones be? With our theme of purity today, I suggest maybe we consider giving pure affection at Christmas. There are fragrances and perfumes, words and acts, poems and songs, but pure affection, whether you sing it, show it, cook it, call it. We can't be naive to think that Americans don't love to love. We do. We know the number one song in America right now is All I Want for Christmas is You. Jesus came for us out of love, a pure love for us, a sweet fragrance, a sweet spirit, a kind spirit, a fun spirit, a caring spirit. If I were a Christmas gift, I'd try to give some affection. And thirdly, the myrrh gift. The myrrh gift. There are some hard things, but I would go to the bucket list and find some positive adventures. They may not be easy. You may need the myrrh and the prayer, but some positive adventures. Adventures. Whether they're local or not local. You know, one of the things on my bucket list, Sammy Blair got me interested in doing this, is driving my car on Green River Lake. Sam, where are you? There you are. I heard a story. We went Christmas caroling Wednesday evening, and Sam told me about a couple of fellas years ago who drove from, where did they drive from to Campbellsville, Sam? Plum Point, and where'd they go to? The big bridge there, and they went to where? Campbellsville or? Over by the dam. They drove their vehicle on the ice. I do not recommend this. Young drivers, absolutely don't even try this. That's not on my bucket list. I am never going to drive my car across Green River Lake. But there are a lot of fun things. I would ice skate on Green River Lake. Love to ice skate. There are some adventures. I would ice skate in Gatlinburg. I would ice skate in Cincinnati. There are some adventures you can go on with your family and your friends. Maybe not be easy, and maybe you'll be vulnerable, but there are some positive adventures. Adventures. Jesus gave us these gifts, didn't he? Personal attention. When you pray, don't you connect without a phone to Jesus? He gave us pure affection, for God so loved the world, he sent his Son, that we might not perish but have everlasting life. Pure love. And positive adventures. Didn't he give us positive adventures? You shall be my witnesses. And we are. The witnesses of the change he brings to our heart. So as Karen has come up, I invite the band to come up. If you were a Christmas gift, could you give a little personal attention? And your pet is included. Our pet loves personal attention. Not shy to ask for it. Some pure affection, and she returns pure affection. Etta will lick my face from top to bottom, just sharing her love with me. And some positive adventures. If I walk off the porch up the driveway, guess who's 20 feet ahead of me, ready to go? Etta. Positive adventures. The grandchildren are right next to me. Karen's praying for me. And adventures. what gifts we give to each other because Jesus has given us a freedom. He has lifted that weight of guilt and sin off of us and given us life and light. Fear and anxiety, He changes them with love. And then we're ready. So this is an unusual Advent, fourth Sunday of Advent song. But I don't make the choices, the Holy Spirit does. This song is about the love that Jesus has for us. How He loves. Personal attention, a tender affection, and some really good adventures.